I always had a desire. I never thought I would make the Marine Corps a career, but it just kind of kept turning out that way. There is something to be said about, I'm glad that I retired because there are benefits and there's the tangibles, but I don't think I was ready. And then I started networking again because LinkedIn was brand new. There was a lot of curiosity there, and it used to be not as guarded as it is now, where, you know, even Twitter, when it first came out, you could actually make direct contact with people that there would be no way, shape, or form, if you weren't within a social circle or professional network, that you would ever be able to contact these people. And I just learned early on, if you showed an interest in someone, that they would, and you use the word help, and it's genuine. You know, I was curious, how were you successful? You know, are there repeatable patterns? Is there framework? And I was very curious about, you know, not shortcutting the journey, but just wanting to learn. So, you know, I wanted to get into you know, here again, this is kind of my journey about like, here's what I wanted, here's what life ended up with, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to get into investment banking. I had made contact with someone that was a former Marine. He was in a boutique shop, and I was like, I bought my suits in advance. I was there, you know, I had an in, I was ready to, and again, I had probably romanticized the industry. I was thinking this is going to be a cross between, you know, not that I wanted to be Gordon Gekko, but Wall Street there and Trading Places, you know, somewhere between chaos, excitement, and all kind of the spectrum. And I just, again, not knowing, you know, the realities of what that, you know, I'm thankful enough my prayers weren't answered in that direction, but it's where I wanted to go. Started buying all my suits, getting prepared, and then the world melted, you know, and then he's unemployed. And then I started thinking, man, there's a lot of volatility, you know, going from where I'm at to now. And I always had just this thought in my mind that drove me, probably more, I'd say, borderline so focused, neurotic. Maybe that's not the best description, but I never wanted to go home and say, I don't know how we're going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to put food on the table. So that just drove me to such a degree that, you know, consulting happened to be kind of one of those. There was this, you know, again, former Marines, just, you know, by curiosity, I started asking about this one company. CEO graduated where I got my MBA from. One of their service leaders actually was in the Marine Corps before, so it's just these random associations that you think doesn't matter. It gives somebody a little bit of curiosity about you to have maybe a conversation. And then, you know, it's up to you. Once you get into that room, can you, I would say, present yourself in a way that not only sparks interest, but they see value. Like, okay, I see propensity, I see aptitude, I see growth. And there was a lot of experience, but again, the one part, and I was listening, there was a podcast the other day with Tony Gonzalez and Ryan Holiday on, I would say, is the Daily Stoic, and he was talking about the depression that some people go through when they go through this professional career, and they don't realize that they're going to have to start over at some point in time.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be a master of their next endeavor, whatever it is, and that you just can't show up and think that you're going to be all pro, and that kind of resetting in life can be harsh. And I was surprised. I thought, you know, all these years that I had prepared, that I was just going to be ready to hit the ground running. And on the surface, I probably was, but I would say there was a lot of, you know, just reflection and tugging of war going through my mind about, you know, life is not moving fast enough.
Yeah.
The world isn't moving fast enough. You know, what am I doing wrong? And just not being, you know, okay with the progress that life will take you sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just battled through it. I mean, I would say you can white knuckle some things through life, and you know, ambition and hard work. And you know, if I didn't know where I was going, at least I knew how to work hard. And I realized that maybe I didn't have all of the exact vernacular. Maybe I didn't understand all of the technology to a certain degree. I certainly had been involved in technology in the Marine Corps, but it's different. But I learned how to read and understand people. I learned how to listen, kind of what the language of needs are. And I noticed by looking at people that quite often people end up talking at each other. They're listening to respond, and they're not listening to understand. And it's just circular talk. And first it would drive me crazy because I couldn't stand being, it's not that there's inefficient conversations. Sometimes you have to go through a dance, but there is just, it's like, man, we are not accomplishing anything. This is, confusing activity with results. We're having a meeting. Great. What accomplished? Well, I don't know. We talked about some stuff. Well, what come out of that? Well, we're going to circle back. I'm like, oh my God, please. Just coming up with, like I said, framework and acronyms, because I couldn't take people through the journey. Well, how do you see things like that? And it's like, well, I'd just like you to consider the next time you're in this meeting, there's 3 letters I want you to consider, PFC. Are you going to be a participant? Are you going to be a facilitator? Or are you going to contribute? And sometimes you have to go through all, but you have to recognize your role in that conversation and understand it's not what you have to say that's most important. It's how you're aligning to the client and having them understand how your value aligns with what their objectives and vision is. And they may not even have clarity on where they're going, but they want to understand, one, they're being heard, and that you're shepherding them along the way. And I think you might have made reference to it. It's a yes and.
Yeah.
It's not, again, confusion over vernacular. It's, I see your point, and I certainly understand where we could include that as part of scope, but I'd like you to consider. So there's just a lot of different ways, but it takes a lot of practice. And I would say in my industry, people become very technologically focused, and they sometimes lose the human centricity of things.